Hello, viewers. You are welcome to Knowing Bayelsa, a live online chat with key stakeholders or key players of the Restoration Administration. I am Perekebna Okoye. Seated here with me, one on one, is a former chairman of Association of Nigerian Authors, a former SSA on research and documentation to the President of Nigeria in Villa, a former SSA on documentation to the Bayelsa State Government, right now the speechwriter to the Governor of Bayelsa State, Mr. Michael Afenfia. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Perry, for having me.
You have a way of greeting your audience when they come to a place. They are waiting for you.
Thank you, Bayelsans, and all those who are watching this for the opportunity to have this interaction with you.
Okay. For our viewers out there, I also want you to welcome our online viewers and urge you all to please send your questions to the platform or send SMS to the following number 0706 840 5809 or 07011 or 090-830-85732. And finally, 080-560-85520. Speechwriter, sir, how has it been or your experience? Can you share more light on your experience, knowing very well that you are the speechwriter, you are supposed to be writing the speech of the governor, but your right here is a different case. Most times, the governor of Bayelsa State doesn't use prepared speech. How has it been?
Thank you very much, Perry. Before I get to your question, I think I should use this opportunity to first of all send my condolences to His Excellency Governor Henry Seraki Dixon and the entire Dixon family on the death of their mother and matriarch, Mrs. Gold Coast Dixon. May her gentle soul rest in peace. To your question, I think it's an interesting one, really, because you find a lot of the leaders that we look up to, even somebody like Barack Obama that I absolutely have a great respect for, cannot go anywhere without a teleprompter. Many people have said, Obama is so smart, he doesn't read a speech, because over there you don't see them with any physical paper, but all of the speeches and everything that they are saying has been scripted and it's keyed into a computer, and then they're watching it from teleprompters by their sides. So those who are at home listening to them or watching them, even people in the crowd sometimes do not realize that what Obama is saying has been scripted for him. So you see, as intelligent as Barack Obama is, and as intelligent as we perceive him to be, he cannot go out without, those prepared speeches. So I come here and then I see Governor Henry Seraki Dixon, who can very well and very comfortably and conveniently, put aside, your work of several hours and several days, and then just speak from off the cuff, and he comes out. Sometimes, in fact, most times, you are shocked at the depth of the information that he has, and the amount of information he's able to communicate to those who are listening to him. So that's something that is really, really commendable. And I see every day, I see that other government functionaries who work with him have also imbibed that culture of just being confident enough to say, you know what, I have this speech, but I'm going to drop it and I'm going to speak from my heart and I'm going to connect to the people, and that connection is made. So it's not something that, I don't come away feeling like all that effort or all that labor is in vain. Instead, it's something that I aspire and I even emulate and wish to get to that level where I can do that too. Because the beauty of it is when you do that, you're reacting to the situation as you see it. You're able to relate to the people who you are talking to, and tell them what they really want to hear, and they get the sense that this is a genuine communication and it is coming from the heart. Having said that, of course, there are a number of occasions where you would have to um, make talking points. Fortunately, like I said, His Excellency is an extremely intelligent person, a lawyer who has also been in the National Assembly. So speaking with or without any prepared material is naturally not a problem for him. He's an orator like that. But sometimes, of course, you have to drop talking points. So he looks at it and then he's able to, is guided by it. You also would know that there are certain very, very important speeches.
Yeah.
For instance, when you're presenting the appropriation budget, there's a lot of information that have to be written out for you. When you're addressing maybe the occasions like anniversary, the state anniversary or national anniversary celebrations, you want to be scripted in those occasions. And let's also not forget that there are so many times where the governor is represented at events because he doesn't always go by himself. So on those occasions, of course, whoever is going to represent him has have their speeches prepared for them, and then they just go and become the voice of the governor on those occasions. But what happens essentially, if you're familiar with the term backward integration, that's essentially what we get to do now. So backward integration is like you're going from the back and you're coming to the front when it should have been the other way around. So what we do is we try to catch up, and it's not easy playing catch up to His Excellency because he can speak for like an hour, 30 minutes.
Yeah. And it's a brief moment.
And yes, I'm going to be very, very brief today. I'm going to be very brief. I'm not saying anything. And then, you have spoken for an hour, 30 minutes. And we have to then come back and transcribe everything that he has said and edit it and put it out there so people can get to have the documented version of those remarks.
Before this administration, you were, from your profile, you were research, SSA on research to the president, and now in this administration you are still appointed SSA on documentation. Of what importance or what will it impact to the people of this? Coming from as in you in research, doing your research and documenting your issues.
Yeah. That's it's extremely important. I know for those of you who follow global trends. You recall that a while back, the leader of our country, got flack because they had done a speech for him that copied from someone else's speech, and then people were able to juxtapose and say, oh, no, whoever your speechwriter is didn't do a good job because he just went and did copy and paste and produced somebody else's speech. We also are aware of the scandal in America when Melania Trump, in a very, very important moment, read a speech that was exactly what her predecessor, Michelle Obama, had done. So those moments can be very, very embarrassing. So for you to be a good speechwriter, for you to be able to put present your principal in a good light, you need to do your research. And don't copy and paste because you can embarrass you. That's plagiarism, really, and you could even get into trouble for that legally. We also saw the very embarrassing situation very recently where somebody who is very high up in government was in a public occasion and he just went on saying transmission, and then he just went. It was embarrassing for everybody.
He still said that it was edited. It was a not short or tip. That didn't come from the person you are talking about.
Well, we wouldn't go into that conversation, but we also saw what happened on that occasion. So it's important that as somebody who have that opportunity of scripting what somebody as important as a governor or a leader or somebody in charge of any MD or ministry would say, that you do your research very thoroughly, and then you're able to speak. Essentially, the more you do it, the more, for instance, Hechi would be at an event, and there are certain things he must say. That Hechi must say, if it's a courtesy call, Hechi must say, every good man is a Bayelsan. He must say that. Hechi must say, going forward. The governor must say, going forward. So there are certain expressions, certain phrases, certain issues that you find him playing with whenever he has those opportunities to address the public. But then again, it's also important to stress that, of course, the activities sometimes, for instance, you have courtesy calls.
Yeah.
You know, if HE is in town and is in the office, you most likely have people coming to visit on courtesy calls. And sometimes you'd have had maybe a chief of defense staff or a chief of army staff come 1, 2, 3, 4 occasions. So at those times, you pretty much understand the issues that will play out when such persons are around. But like I was saying, though, the issue about backward integration, having them to then go back after he has spoken, for me, that's the most important thing, you know, being able to go back after he has spoken and transcribe what he has said and store it in a way that it is retrievable now and in the future.
Hello viewers, you can log on to the Bayesa's new media page or share it with your friends, because your friends really want to be part of this revealing program. Speechwriter, if you want to get a news or happening in Bayelsa State, it's just a click away from you, Bayelsa New Media or any other medium. Is it a deliberate act that the happenings in Bayelsa are always on air for people to access?
Yes, I mean, if you study what has been happening in the government, a lot of thought have been gone through that process. I came in, like you mentioned in the intro, I joined the restoration government towards the tail end of the first tenure, and I was SSA documentation at the time. By the second tenure, I was then made speechwriter to the governor. And I think that the mission still remains the same, largely the same. The goal is to make His Excellency the most documented public official in Nigeria. And I think that we are really on our way there. I'm not just saying this to make Bayelsans feel like a lot of work have been done. So I actually came here with a couple of things that we have done. Of course, when I first joined the government, the first person I spoke with at the time was the Chief Press Secretary to His Excellency at the time, Honorable Daniel Iwoiso Maxine. And we had a chat, and he showed me a couple of things that they had done. So I knew that it was going to be a tough call. But my background, of course, is creativity. Beyond being a lawyer, I spend most of my time writing, and that's what I do. I do for a living. So finding myself in a position where I have to document then becomes almost second nature to me. I live, I breathe writing. So we started the process of in addition to what we found on ground, of documenting everything that His Excellency has done. In the current Commissioner for Information's time as CPS, they had done a couple of books, and then we came on board and we continued from that point on. So what we have done is, I should just show you a couple. So we have Timeless Nuggets and Quotes. This is actually volume 2 because we had done volume 1. Timeless Nuggets and Quotes essentially are HE's notable quotes that HE has made on different issues, on education, on restructuring. So we had a volume 1 and people thought that, no, this is really good, we should have a volume 2. So we went ahead and did the volume 2. Now, it will also interest you to note that a couple of days ago, I think it was last week or so, I was watching Channels Television and I saw they were having this breakfast show in the morning, and the issue for discussion that day was on restructuring.
Okay.
Yeah, and I was so impressed when one of the presenters quoted HE, verbatim, like this is what HE has said on restructuring. All of this is possible because those materials are available for people to access. So we have done Timeless Nuggets and Quotes. From when the current Commissioner for Information was CPS, they did Ofruma Pepe, the return of the white shark. This essentially is a compilation of the 2015-2016 election campaigns and all of those processes. Okay. We have Heart of a Lion, Heart of a Lion is a collection of speeches by His Excellency in the last year or so. We also have Dixon, The Power of Delivery. These are compilations of speeches done during the first tenure. We also have the Dixon, The Art of Delivery. This was also done during the first tenure by the current Commissioner for Education, Information rather. There is social media. This is a compilation on social media in Bayelsa State by the current DG for Policy, Dr. John Idumange. This one is interesting because we had gone to have a meeting with His Excellency a while back, I and the Director for Social Media.
The Director for New Media?
New Media, rather, to discuss with HE on a couple of things we were working on at the time. I was like, you guys have done so much for me and about me. I don't see anything on the Deputy Governor. So he gave us the go-ahead and essentially commissioned us to do a book on the Deputy Governor. And at the time when you find Deputy Governors and their principals not aligning, the governor would say, go and write about my deputy. So that's really commendable. So we did this book on the Deputy Governor. These are books. In addition to that, what we also do from time to time when important speeches are delivered by His Excellency, we want to have them in a format that is easy for people to access. So this, for instance, is a compilation of some of the speeches that he has delivered on some of his foreign trips. We also have something like this, because these are actually, first of all, they're not too expensive to produce, and then they're easy to share and easy to read. So we have something HE has done, a speech he delivered during the matriculation. This is particularly important because it came at a time when certain policies on education were being unveiled, right? So you really don't have to go too far to know what the policy on education is. If you have a material like this, people would be confronted by the regular, and the regular would be that you would find His Excellency announcing that there's a students' loan scheme, or there's the Education Trust Fund. Those are policies people can easily run to. But if you go through this volume, for instance, you would see that HE also announced a policy, a deliberate policy for tertiary institutions to go commercial. Not go commercial in terms of their relationship with their students, but commercial in the sense that they're then not depending on government absolutely for their finances, but they're able to set up businesses, which brought about NDU, for instance, now having the NDU Table Water, which is a commercial venture. So if you went through that volume, you will see that HE is probably one of the governors in the state, in the country, who is not afraid to discuss with the media. And so while we, our leaders at the national level, sometimes, have never sat down to do a one-on-one with the press people to be questioned and interviewed by them. HE does that like a second nature to him. The governor does that. So we have volumes of some of those interactions he has had with the media. This is also something that was done by the tourism board at the time, documenting some of the sites. Now, why do we do all of this? I recall I was on a radio program with the Commissioner for Information recently, and he said he told the story of how one of the past governors of Bayelsa State came back to Bayelsa to say, "Oh, I need this picture. I need a speech of what," and they searched and searched and searched, and it couldn't be found. By God's grace, because of all of the efforts we have made, that's not going to be a problem, because anybody who wants to know what HE has done, all you need to do is refer to these materials. But you see, this isn't even the beauty of what we have done. The beauty of what we have done is that now, at the click, because we have to keep it trends, with what is going on in the world, global trends. At the click of a button on your phone, you can access what is going on in Bayelsa. My research, when I need to do speeches, suddenly is not so cumbersome anymore. My people who work with me, Dime, Arabina, and the rest of them, can attest to that. Because sometimes all we need to do is say, you know what, we're looking for this speech she delivered on the 12th of June 2014. What do we then do, or 2015? We go to Facebook and we see all the pictures we want, we see all the images we want and all that. So I think that His Excellency Honorable Henry Seraki Dixon has given the direction, and he has taken this whole thing about communication and how it should be packaged to a whole new level. And I can say very boldly and confidently that as we speak, His Excellency Henry Seraki Dixon is the most documented governor in Nigeria.
You just made mention of a former governor trying to search for a picture, and he came to the commissioner's office, and that picture was found.
It was difficult getting that material, because the kind of documentation we have now it didn't exist at the time.
Okay, the speechwriter, how can people access this document without coming to any commissioner's office? Is there any strategy or plan or policy put in place so people can just, from their houses, can just click and have these books right in front of them?
Yes, beyond the books, like I said earlier, because of all of the
work... Is there a website?
Yeah, because of all the work that have been done on social media, and for this I really must commend your director, Efesimo Koroye, for all of his hard work and innovation in this regard. Beyond looking for books, if there's anything specifically about HE you want to find out, even for something as rudimentary as Facebook, you can find it. Any speech delivered by His Excellency on any particular day is available on Facebook. Pictures of that event are available on Facebook. It's easy to track. In addition, because people have been on this program and they have commended HE on transparency and the transparency policy that was introduced at the beginning of this government. But let's even move it away from transparency in physical terms, monetary terms. Let's even go to transparency of just being available and being accessible and being not shrouding anything in mystery. So what His Excellency has done by all of this effort is that you can be anywhere and know where HE is and what he's doing at that moment officially. When he's in Ife delivering a speech, you know what he's doing. When he's in Lagos or Abuja for an event or an occasion, you know what he's doing. When he's in Yanagua delivering for a summit or a courtesy call, you can see that online. So that measure of openness that you wouldn't find in other governments in the past and governments in present, you find that here. So across all social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, you get to see this. There are also websites that you can go to, hsdixon.com. Same on Facebook and Twitter, I am HS Dixon, and you'll find a lot of all these things that we're talking about. So that is the beauty of what we have done, that beyond the documentation in terms of books or materials you can handle, there are all these other online platforms where you can get the information. And you see, sometimes it's easy to overlook because people often want to judge performance and successes by brick and mortar. So if it's not a building, if it's not a house, if it's not a road, if it's not a bridge, if it's not a hospital, you have not done anything. But I bet you, being transparent in this manner, being accessible in this manner is such a big deal, and we shouldn't overlook it. Like I mentioned, imagine my pride watching a national news program. And somebody there is quoting my governor because of the efforts he has put in place and the support that he has given to us to be able to put all of these materials out. Let me also tell you something very interesting. If you follow the news, you would have discovered that just yesterday, the federal government has started the process of decentralizing the police. Right?
Yeah.
I will not be wrong in giving a lot of that credit to HE, because His Excellency has been the champion for restructuring across the country. And everywhere he has gone to, people have recognized that this is now the poster child. This is now the voice of restructuring in Nigeria. And a lot of the issues that he canvassed in Ife, he canvassed in Calabar when they had the retreats for South senators. A lot of the issues he canvassed when they had the PANDEF forum. all of those things have now gradually been implemented. So we are now at a point in Nigeria where the police, in my lifetime, is going to be decentralized. All of this would have come up if His Excellency wasn't as vocal as he has been, and if those issues have not been documented in the way that they have been documented.
Hello, viewers. This platform is created for you to add your voice to the ongoing issues and make your conclusion where applicable. You can log into Bayelsa New Media, even as you listen to the speechwriter to the governor of Bayelsa State. Speechwriters are, what other platforms have you put in place to promote the government and the governor of Bayelsa State?
Thank you again, Barry, for that question. For me, because I'm from a large family, right? My parents actually have 10 children, and I'm the ninth. One more would have been a football team.
Yes.
But because I'm from a large family, I kind of appreciate the fact that everybody in that family has something different from what the other person has. We cannot all be the same. And I've learned to harness the potentials of everybody. Okay. Growing up, when there was a problem in the neighborhood, and it was going to get to a fist fight, they won't send me. I could disgrace them. There were my brothers that they would send, because they know those ones are equal to the task. If there was something intellectual to be done, they knew who to send. If it was cooking, they knew who could do it best. So I think Echi has this ability to pull people with diverse talents together to form his team. And I'm sure you would have seen that play out in the course of this program. For me, I'm a creative person. I come from a creative background. And in addition to the work that I do, some of which I've discussed here today, I sat down one day and said to myself, how else can I project for the government, but most importantly, project for Bayelsa State? So we began an online series called The Mechanics of Yenagoa. And I've been on radio this morning, even discussing that. The idea really is to begin to change the narrative, right? So when people hear Yenagoa or they hear Bayelsa, they don't instinctively think militancy, oil pipeline vandalism, and all that. When people hear Yenagoa, and as time progresses with what we're doing, when people Google Yenagoa, they're going to begin to see positive and interesting things about Yenagoa, and that's the vision and behind doing the mechanics of Yenagoa. And you see, what the Europeans and America have done very successfully is to inculturate the entire world via this medium of television, communication, and all that. So if they want to pass a message across, what do? They create a program called Modern Family. And as you watch that program consistently, you begin to accept it as a norm that there are all kinds of marriages. Marriage is not just about a man or a woman. If they want to push a trend or an agenda, they subtly put it in a film or a movie or a book you read. And you begin to accept that, okay, it's true that girls should dress this way or men should dress this way. And for us, I didn't travel out of Nigeria until I was like an adult, really. And that would be the experience for many people, that you have never been to London before, but you can talk about Paris, but you can talk about the Eiffel Tower, you can talk about the London Bridge, you can talk about the Louvre in France, you can talk about all of these things without actually being there. I can tell you, even before I went to America, that they will say, if they want to describe a street, they will say Chestnut and 45. I'd never been to America, but I knew that. How? Because of the books I read and the films I watched. So it's putting the message of Yanagwa in this format that people can read. It's a way of like, beginning to change how people think about Yanagwa, what is happening in Yanagwa. And we've had followers from all over Nigeria, because in addition to that, we've been on tour to different places, to Ife, Lagos, Abuja, promoting the mechanics of Yanagwa and Yanagwa. So people are reading the story, and suddenly they are, calling feedbacks and mentioning Ebinimi, who is the character in the book, in the series rather. They are mentioning Ebiakpo, they know about Ovon, they know about the project in the Pavilion project, because I've written a story around it. They know about the airport, that will be commissioned soon, because it's built in the story somehow. So it's a way of promoting, the beauty and tourism in Yanagwa. And I remember, because we get feedbacks, a lady who has been following the series, DM sent us a direct message. She said, when I heard you mention, when I was reading a particular episode and I saw Nickton Road, it brought me back to when I was a youth corps, serving in Yanagwa during my youth corps. Yeah. So it's that sort of emotion and sentiment that we want to instill. And we also got a call, which I shared with your director. We get calls from even outside the country, from even somewhere as far as Malaysia. People have indicated interest in seeing what we are doing, and even moving from a stage where we are not just in a online series, but we can actually become a program people can watch on TV. Okay. So it's a subtle way of promoting Yanagwa, of promoting the positivity in Bayelsa State, and building some of the things that the governor have done, not in a way that it then becomes, because sometimes when you throw a government official on radio, on TV, I'm here, I've spoken a lot, I guess, yes. I've showed you things, but anybody who wants to think it's propaganda will still say, it's propaganda, but throwing it in this format, people unconsciously begin to imbibe the message that you're trying to pass across. And let's also not forget the tourist potential when you do something like this. If you ever visit Philadelphia, nobody visits Philadelphia without stopping at a particular stage, and it looks just like the staircase in front of Government House where the Rocky movie was shot. It was a film, right? It was a film with Rocky Balboa. Sylvester Stallone. Yeah, it was a movie he did a few years ago. But that moment in that film has become so iconic that if you visit Philadelphia, you must go and see it. So by the time we push the mechanics of Yanagwa to the level that we want to push it to, nobody will visit Yanagwa without going to Ovom. Let me go and see Nickton Road. Let me go and see where Benini lives. So I think that's why we're doing that.
Okay. Viewers, one of the aims of the Bayelsa New Media is to showcase the happenings of Bayelsa, even the futuristic happenings on Bayelsa. So if you have any information you want to get across, to just click the Bayelsa New Media, and the information will be right there in your phone for you to access, and it's accessible. It's almost free. Speechwriter, the governments of Bayelsa State, led by Governor Henry Siraki Desin, recently carried out, through the Ministry of Information, a town hall meeting in every local government area to sensitize people of the policies and how these policies have been implemented by the Restoration Administration to exfoliate the rots in the civil service in Bayelsa State. So you follow through the process of the town hall meeting, and you are a member of one of the committees. What is your experience?
Awesome. And really, I cannot say enough how the quality of individuals, and His Excellency will always say that, I don't do anything without a team. So I cannot say enough how brilliant some of these teams have been, okay, and the individuals that His Excellency have picked to perform some of these functions. From the Commissioner for Education, who was here a short while ago, the Deputy Chief of Staff, the Chief of Staff, the Deputy Governor, so many bright, Jasper Eradire, who was here from the small and medium scale enterprise, to Miss Patience, Abba, and all of these very brilliant people, who would always come up with ideas that His Excellency would support. So the town hall meeting was one of such ideas. But before I go to the town hall, I must also mention Ebizim of Koroyi as well, as one of those brilliant people. That idea came from the Ministry of Information to say, you know what, this reform has started, and there have been a lot of, hue and cry arising from the implementation of the reforms. People who felt like they had been hard done by, people who felt like they hadn't gotten their voices heard, or they hadn't gotten the justice that they deserved, and all that. So we had all of those cases, people saying their salaries had been stopped, although shortly after the implementation, HE intervened, and there was a lot of movement in that area. But people needed to know, people needed to ventilate, people needed to understand why this policy had to be implemented. And we can all see from the figures we hear about the drop in the monthly wage bill of the state from over 6 billion to a little over 3 billion as a result of the systematic implementation of this policy from 2012 up to this point. And people can then begin to see. But you see, implementing that wouldn't come without hurting some people, quote and unquote. I spent a couple of years in the banking sector, and I know how traumatic it was. I'm not a marketer, right? I can't sell an umbrella to somebody who is in the rain, and that's how bad my marketing skills are. You see, so when they say you have a target this month, you have to bring 3 billion, or you have to bring 500 million, I always fell short. So every day you lived under that fear of losing your job. So I know what it feels like to wake up in the morning and not have anything to do. And I guess His Excellency also feels that pain as well. Hence the number of soft landings that have been thrown into the entire process. But you see, it then became necessary for Bioscience at the grassroots level to have this level of information about what the reforms was about. And so the ministry moved from local government to local government and had the stakeholders sit down for this town hall meeting, and people actually came up and ventilated their views. And it really went a long way. From being there, and we also anchored the complaint desk. So we sat down and had people come and complain about their issues. And just being there and interacting with people as they come to lodge their complaints was even an eye-opener for me. For instance, in one of the sessions we had, there was a particular person, man or boy, who stood up to ask a question. And he said, oh, look, they say they want to inject fresh blood into the civil service. I'm a young man, I'm just a little over 30. I have everything, all my documents, everything in place. Why did they stop my salary? And as he was talking, because we were in the local governments, remember, as he finished talking, somebody, a lady close to who had come to complain, now whispered to me that, see this boy, he collects in papa job. Okay. So that's the kind of exposure being on that team gave to me. Because then you actually now interacted with them one-on-one. We saw people who, they'll say, I know say I don't. They came to complain, and they would admit that I don't reach to retire, but make I just put my complaint, whether they go pay pension or they go pay one thing or the other.
Do you think some of these complaints raised by Bioscience during the reforms, they are genuine?
Well, to the extent that they came with those complaints, they do exist. As to the merit or demerit of those complaints, is the reason why there are several committees who are looking into those complaints. What we have done is to collate everybody's issues and then segment them to the committees that they belong to, and handed them over to the ministry that will in turn then hand them over to the several committees and they will be looked into. But just from the example that I gave to you, you see that guy who has stood up to say that I am a little over 30. I am still young.
Yeah.
Why was my salary stopped? Even there and then, I got my answer as to why the salary was stopped, because the committee must have found out, just like that lady revealed to us, that he inherited somebody's job. So that was the salary stopped, yes, but there's a backstory that a proper investigation would have revealed, and the actions that were taken would have been taken.
Looking at most of the complaints, because the complaints were just coming. Looking at the complaints, do you think this reform is being accepted by Bayelsans?
No, yeah, that was the overwhelming. It was a good thing we embarked on that process, and I was glad I was a part of it, because you could see very clearly that there was an acceptance.
Okay.
There was an acceptance.
Why do you think so?
Yes. Everywhere we went, there was a unanimous acceptance that this is the right thing to do, and this thing must be done. But of course, people who feel aggrieved will complain. But the general consensus was that this is the right thing to do. And we got that very clearly from local government after local government. Look, beyond even just that, you think about it. Is it right that somebody is in Calabar,
Yeah.
right? You are in Calabar, and you are getting alerts every month that you do some work for Bayelsa State government, when you actually have genuine cases of people who ought to fill in these positions but cannot get those placements. And we're thankful that the pronouncement about creating opportunities for fresh graduates, fresh intakes rather, came about as a result of this reform.
Yeah.
So imagine 1,000 fresh blood injected into the system, and how far that can go. And that was also another concern that was raised in the course of the town hall meeting, because people really wanted to know, would the process be transparent? Would it be man, no man, and all that? So those are also fears that were expressed in the course of the town hall meetings.
You have affirmed that these reforms have been accepted by Bayelsans, but there are some cases people are grieving. They want to know where to go to. What is the next action to take? Where are they going to lay their complaints? Is there any office?
Well, like I said, the complaint desk was a good opportunity for anybody who had any legitimate complaint to take advantage of in the course of the town hall meeting. And we had a lot of complaints. Even after we wrapped up the town hall meeting, and we came back to Yanagwa, the ministry had to give an extra week, went on air to say, look, if in the course of the town hall meeting you didn't get a chance of filling the complaint form, come to the ministry and get the form and fill. And a lot of people, in fact, more people showed up after that process to come and lay their complaint. So of course the ball, I guess, would be in our court now.
Okay.
How quickly we can then react to those complaints and get back to them. But like you heard the Commissioner for Information say the last time he was here, that all of those complaints will be forwarded to the appropriate committees who will then look into it.
What next? If today, after all the complaints, yes, I agree, I am at fault. The government has taken the job away from me. Is there any other plan as a soft landing for these people?
Yeah, you will recall that His Excellency had said very clearly the number of the cases that were being looked into are people who had issues of grades and all that, manipulation of grades. And the soft landing was to say, you know what, let's not be too hard on you. Let's place you at the level you should have been. Let's also, in addition to the 1,000 fresh employments that will be made pretty soon, let's also not forget that a lot of effort is being made in the area of industrialization in the state, and creating opportunities for small scale businesses to commence and then thrive. A few weeks ago, His Excellency was with a number of young people, and they established the young Bayelsa network, so that young Bayelsans can then access the 500 million grants that His Excellency has provided for people who want to go into business to take advantage of that opportunity.
Yeah.
We have seen the Commissioner for Works here and the DG of the Bayelsa State Airlines here too. So we know what opportunities will come up when the airport comes on stream. So there are a lot of initiatives, a lot of things that are going on that will change the perception people have about employment post school. Because of the nature of what I do in my life as a creative person, I get to work with a lot of young people.
Okay.
A lot of young people who are extremely talented in the use of digital communication. They have great digital communication skills.
Yeah.
So I have people who work for me or work with me who at the end of the day would collect maybe 20,000 or 15,000 or 30,000 as the case may be.
Yeah.
And remember that I'm not the only one who they are rendering this service to. So I tell them, because they'll call me and say, Oga Michael, sir, good morning, sir. I'm like, don't call me sir, because I know very well that at the end of the month, you earn more than I do from all of these things that you do. So those opportunities for people to be independent, for people to be on their own, those platforms and opportunities have been created. Now, let's even go back to our conversation about documentation and the use of the internet and modern facilities in achieving that. Just think of the immense opportunity that have been created in the social media sphere in Bayelsa State. I bet you a lot of people who play in that sector will not accept a job from the government that pays 50,000 and will tie them down. Right? Because if they just go and run their Facebook page, effectively, they will get more recognition and more opportunities to fend for themselves. So with the engagement, the amount of engagement that His Excellency have done, in social media alone, is something we don't see that. Like I said, sometimes we want to measure development in terms of brick and mortar, but we don't look at all these softer issues. That there are so many cameramen, so many photographers, so many writers and bloggers who just from their phone have been able to earn a living for themselves. So those are new areas that we are looking at. And you see, globally, who are the richest people in the world today? They don't own oil blocks. But they survive because of the skills that they have and how they're able to manipulate technology to earn a living for themselves.
So finally, sir, every government, after some years of leaving office, we always look back to their legacy project. And you are the speechwriter to the governor. You have a story to tell about the governor when you leave office, before and when you leave office. What are the legacy projects these governments would look back to and say, beat the chest to say, yes, I have done this? Which one will you write about?
I was asked a similar question on radio. Success is laughing. I was asked a similar question a while ago about picking which was my favorite amongst the thing. And my response is always something drawn from Chinua Achebe, who is a writer, somebody I look up to, and a writer like me. And Chinua Achebe was asked that question to say, okay, you've written so many books, which of your books is your favorite? And he says, I cannot tell you which is my favorite, because it's like asking me which of my children I like best. So saying which of the projects I would say, okay, this one, because His Excellency has done so many things, it's so difficult. And it will depend on where you belong. Somebody who is in the clergy will mention the economical center. I may not mention that. Right? Somebody who lives in Ekeremo will say it's that road. Somebody who lives in Nembe will say it's the road that leads to Nembe. Somebody who has a medical challenge will say it's the diagnostic center. A writer like me, I would mention all of the opportunities that have been created for documentation. So there are so many things. For instance, just yesterday I had a visitor from out of town who was on his way to Port Harcourt but had to spend the night in Yanagua. And he hadn't been to Yanagua in a while. And he said, I almost missed the way to your house. I'm like, why? Because everywhere has changed. The roads and everything have changed. So 6 years ago, there are so many things you will see in Bayelsa today that you will not see that didn't exist 6 years ago. 6 years ago, we didn't have the Economical Center I just mentioned. 6 years ago, we didn't have the John National Academy. And for somebody who, because I also get invited to work with some ministries to run competitions and all that. And recently, the Ministry of Education ran a competition. And the boy who won that competition had the opportunity of being commissioner for a day. And his parents live in Nembe. They had to come, his father had to come from Nembe to come and celebrate, receive the prize his son won. So this is a child who would have lived all his life in Nembe, but you see, because of the opportunities His Excellency have provided in education, that boy was able to win an essay writing competition, right? That boy is now in the periphery of greatness, because that boy's life will never ever be the same again. Imagine somebody who at 11 or 14 has been commissioner for a day, has sat down to address the press. A child from Nembe, I'm not saying Nembe is in the hinterland, but a child who hadn't had the opportunity of being in the city as we know it, but because of the opportunity to school in the John National Academy, has received this exposure. And there are plans as we speak to take this boy to accompany some government officials for a competition abroad. So if that works out, this boy is going to go abroad, travel in an airplane, have an international passport, have a visa, So when you speak to that boy's father and say, what is the most important thing HE has done, right? Yeah. He's not going to mention the pavilion. He's not going to mention, he probably wouldn't mention the airport. He will mention the opportunity in education that HE has done. So this is one governor who has done so much, who has set the bar so high, who everybody who comes in as governor after him would say, how do I catch up? How do I catch up? And maybe that was why we entitled that book we did, Heart of a Lion, because it actually takes a very, very brave person to take on all of the things that His Excellency has taken on. So that is a very difficult question. For me, who has a bird's eye view, I get to write speeches, I get to read speeches, I get to transcribe speeches, I get to edit speeches. So I see very clearly that His Excellency just bestrides so many areas. I mentioned, because every time people have this conversation about even the education sector, they mention that, they have set up a trust fund. They mention the schools that have been built. But I just mentioned one that people often overlook. The fact that NDU can today have a factory, that the University of Africa has incorporated 3 companies. Okay. 1 to go into farming and 2 to go into other areas. It's something that has never happened in Bayelsa State before. So there are so many areas when you look around. Is it in the area of security? I've had that experience of having to call Doakpo, and within 5 minutes of making a phone call, and this is not an exaggeration, they arrive. So there's so many areas where His Excellency has touched. That is very, very, very transparency, and all of those things. So there's so many things that His Excellency has done, and we need to appreciate that fact. But sometimes, as it often happens, if they happen for your domot, then you don't know about it.
Hello, viewers. This is where we cut the story. It's a privilege meeting you. Thank you for spending the time with us.
Thank you so much for having me, Pere.